What's up, everybody? It's Conger Live. We're back again with another Kingdom Boss video, and in today's video we're going to be going over the Empire faction, looking at all the heroes there and hopefully figuring out which ones of them are good or not. If you're new to the channel, subscribe for more content. Don't forget to leave a comment with your thoughts, and let's get into it. Okay, here we are in the Heroes tab. We have 11 Empire toons. And the first one is Samson, your starting hero. He's a 1-star. He's basically made for fodder. He has a pretty interesting ultimate, which works off in the tutorial. Gains 3 stacks to defend, then deals 270% physical damage in an area around an enemy. Applies stun to all enemies hit for 2.5 seconds. So it's nice that he has a stun. That's probably the best thing about him. He does physical melee damage. After every 9 seconds, he gains 2 stacks to defend, so it really helps him to stay alive. That way you feel strong in the tutorial. The other 1-star hero is Chrysalis. She's the elf striker. Her caustic horde attacks in a rectangular area in front of her, dealing 400% magical damage and applies 1 stack of poison to enemies hit. She does basic ranged magical attack. And her Poison Nova, every 5th basic attack, deals 130% magical damage to initial target, 50% magical damage to enemies nearby the initial target, and applies 1 stack of poison to enemies hit. So she's got a little bit of splash damage, and she does some poison, but that's about it. Into the 3-star heroes, we have Sylvian, which is an elf striker. His ultimate, Piercing Brambles. Sylvian summons magical brambles in a circular area, dealing 300% magical damage and applying 2 stacks of injured to the enemy's hit. He does ranged magical attack, and whenever an enemy is killed with natural selection, nature allies gain 1 stack of strengthened. His other passive is Elven Grace, where every 9th basic attack deals 225% magical damage, and Sylvan gains 1 stack of dodging. So he has some survivability for himself and helps strengthen his allies, but overall he's going to be used as fodder to rank up your 5 stars. Mithril, an elf striker. His slashing assault does 300% physical damage to enemies hit and applies 2 stacks of weakened. His basic is melee physical. Turn the tide. Whenever an ally dies, warrior allies gain 1 stack of strengthened and defend. Makes the warriors more survivable. And then Challenger, whenever Mithril is crit by an attack, add 1 stack of mark to the attacking enemy. Mithril passively deals 15% increased damage to taunting enemies. So he's kind of like an anti-tank in a sense, but once again, nothing impressive. Then we have Gallen, which is your starting support, the dwarf support. I said, he looks like a priest, don't let him touch me. Oh, look at those eyes. His Cleric's Touch heals a single ally for 520% power. It's a nice big boost, instant heal, which makes him great for in the early game. I could see him having merit throughout. He does ranged magical attack. His Shield of Faith is at the start of battle, applies 1 stack of defended to all frontline allies. So definitely whoever you put in the front line, help them stay alive. And the Battlefield Triage, whenever an ally has a debuff applied to them, Gallen heals that ally for 170% power. It can only trigger once every 3 seconds. So if they're putting out lots of debuffs like poisoned and weakened and burning, then he's going to help those characters stay alive. Of course, it only triggers once every 3 seconds. Otherwise, it would just be way too powerful. So he's a decent healer. You know, I'm using him because he's one that you start with. Pyre is the starting 5-star hero that everybody gets from the story. I was lucky to pull 2 more duplicates of him, so I have him at 1 silver star and a second 5-star. So I'll be able to take him to 3 silver, I think, if I do all my merging properly pretty early on. So he's going to be a strong hero for me. His Meteor Storm deals 240% magical damage to all enemies within a circle area and applies 1 stack of burning to each enemy hit. Burning and poison are like the same thing. They do some small damage over time. Burning is physical and poisoning is magical. Basic ranged magical attacks deal 100 damage. Whenever Pyre applies burning to an enemy, purges one buff on that enemy. So it's cool that he gets rid of any buffs they have with his ultimate as well. Once you get him to 11 and you unlock that Purging Flames. And his Fireball, every 7th basic attack, deals 200% magical damage and applies 1 stack of burning to initial enemy target. The attack also deals 20% magical damage to enemies near initial target. So if anybody's next to that initial target, there's a little bit of splash damage and it applies that burning. So really, really nice. And then Feel the Burn. Fire allies passively deal an additional 20% damage to burning enemy targets. Nice. When a fire ally kills an enemy, Pyre charges 5% energy. So helping him get his special off more often, but not often enough because it's just killing an whenever a fire ally kills an enemy. There's usually 4-on-4. It's pretty standard, so you're going to get this to trigger once or twice. But overall, you know, decent, solid, well-rounded character, I think, which is why it's great to have him at the start. Helga, 5-star, is a dwarf striker. She has Hammer Hurl. It attacks in a line, hitting 2 enemies, each dealing 80% physical damage and applying 1 stack of shock to each enemy hit per hit. Helga takes damage equal to 10% of her current health. So I don't like that she hurts herself, and this has got a really low cost, so she can do this a lot. But it's like a trade-off. You know, she does damage, but then she takes damage. I don't get it. I don't usually ever like when enemies, but maybe it's because something else happens where when the lower her health is, the faster she attacks or something. So every 6 base attack deals 230% physical damage and applies 1 stack of wounded to target. After every 10 seconds, applies 1 stack of strengthened to nearby allies. And when Helga's health drops below 20% max health, there we go, she gains a stack of hastened. While under 20% health, she does an extra 10% damage. So there's why she hurts herself, to try and get to this berserker's rage, because she's a berserker. I would hope that if you partner her well with a healer, because it says when she gains a stack of hastened, it's not just for the first time. So if you could keep her bouncing between below 20% and healing her, then I could see this really like picking up the pace, and she does a lot of attacks. But it's like that dance of the fine line between almost dead and just wrecking shop. So personally, I'm not a fan of that play style, but some people like it, and it could potentially pay off. Domini is a 5-star dwarf striker who has Aether Beam. He deals 400% magical damage in a line and applies inhibited for 2 seconds to enemies hit. He is a ranged magical attacker. His Fervent Research starts the battle with 1 stack of hastened, and when an ally or an enemy uses their ultimate ability, Domini gains 1 stack of hastened. So he's also a quick attacker from ranged. His Worldly Insight passively increases the duration of buffs applied to Domini by 1 second. So when he gets buffed, they last longer, which is nice. And then whenever Domini hits an enemy with an attack, he gains 1 stack of Arcane in the Membrane, AITM. Domini deals an additional 1% damage per stack of AITM, Arcane in the Membrane, maximum 20 stacks. So he starts off attacking quickly. He can get a nice boost of up to 20% damage bonus on all attacks. Pretty cool. Not sure if he's the best. I could see it working in certain situations. I like that he makes his buffs last longer. Celestine is the elf support. Melody of Revitalization heals Celestine and surrounding allies over time by 45% power every second for 6 seconds. One nearby fallen ally is resurrected with 20% health. If no allies were resurrected, Celestine charges 10% energy. So this is really cool, where she's able to resurrect. This makes her an amazing healer to bring your teammates back to life. And if she's not resurrecting, she's going to get her heal off more often. That 10% energy is going to really, really help. But it is a high cost at 200. She's ranged magical attacker. Her Discordant Note, every 6 basic attack, deals 100% magical damage. Every attack does 100% magical damage. but this attack also applies 1 stack of weaken to the enemy target and 1 other random enemy. After every 16 seconds, Celestine charges 10% energy for 1 other ally. So this is really nice. Not only does she charge her own energy from her ult, but she charges energy for someone else. And that can be really, really helpful to help a friendly get their specials off faster. Hymn of Acceleration at the start of battle, or whenever an ally dies, Celestine applies 1 stack of hasten to 1 random ally. So a couple heroes that like hastened are, of course, the Berserker and the Mage Dwarf that we just looked at. So definitely would want to work well with them. Looks like this would be an interesting team. And we're going to go take a look at Lana next. Oh, we're not going to take a look at Lana next because we have the new hero, Atmar, who is not available in summons right now. He was part of the special event, but he should be available in the future. I hope, right? His Brutal Decimation performs 3 basic attacks in an area, dealing 215% base physical damage per strike. Enemies hit by all 3 attacks are stunned for 2 seconds. Atmar passively deals 50% increased damage to defender enemies. So he helps against tanks, and he can stun if he hits all 3 attacks to the same enemies. Pretty cool. His Hack and Smash basic alternates between 2 basic attacks of the Sledgehammer, Hammer Strike and Axe Strike. See how he's got a hammer on one end, axe on the other? Hammer Strike deals 100% base physical damage to the target enemy and 15% splash damage to nearby enemies. The Axe Strike deals 100% base physical damage to the target enemy and heals 15% of the damage dealt. He's the only one so far that has a unique basic attack, which is pretty cool. His Blood Brothers, at the start of battle, Atmar becomes aligned with the ally next to him. Whenever Atmar and the aligned ally heals, the other also heals for 30% of the same amount. Aligned allies each deal 5% increased damage. So he and the person he's next to become aligned. Since he's a melee striker, you'd probably want him next to your tank, which would be most likely Lana. Unstoppable Force. When Atmar drops below 20% of his maximum health for the first time, he gains shielded for 5 seconds, preventing 50% of incoming damage, and enraged for 6 seconds. When enraged, Atmar deals 20% more damage than his attacks ignore dodging. Pretty cool. And his last passive, Debilitating Strike. After Atmar uses 7 basic attacks, or after an aligned hero uses their ultimate ability, Atmar's next basic attack deals 230% base physical damage. If the attack is a Hammer Strike, it applies 1 stack of slowed to enemies. If the attack is an Axe Strike, it applies 1 stack of injured and applies inhibited for 3 seconds to enemies hit. So there's some RNG that comes to what happens. Like maybe you'd rather have him slow, or maybe you'd rather have injured. You kind of just got to take with what you can get, but it's really cool that he's got a lot of variation in his kit. So I would really hope to see him coming to regular summons soon. And last is Lana. I got lucky to open her early on. Her ultimate heals all allies for 106% power and gains shielded for 3 seconds, which is going to help keep them alive. She's melee magical damage. Her Guardian Presence at the start of battle, Lana gains taunting for 3 seconds. Allies within range of Lana passively gain an additional 2% defense. So she's pulls everybody. She's like, hey, come get me, bro. Right off the bat, which is nice, and it helps anyone near her stay alive. Every 6th basic attack deals 200% magic damage and purges 1 buff from the enemy target. We love Purge, we love Cleanse, those are great skills to have. And her Empire's Blessing, nearby allies heals 1% power every 3 seconds. Empire allies heal 2% power instead, and when an ally drops below 25% health for the first time, they gain regenerated for 4 seconds. Pretty cool. The Empire seems to have a lot of synergy with each other. Let me know what you think about the Empire heroes in the comments down below. Don't forget to kick the like button, subscribe for more content. Let's game smarter together. We'll see you in the next video.